You're listening to the Phatcast live from the studio with Colin Reynolds.
Did you choose Firebirds just because they're cool? Do you want a song of mimicry? Well, I can mimic what I thought I learned not to, and show off like the little triad that I was in school. Lyrebird, can you lie sweet things about the place I'm in? 'Cause the joy just tastes like mockery. Don't wanna be here or anywhere else. I left my bed unmade so that the creases could trap the nightshade. They stole my peace away and I can't like quite so sweetly yet. So sing me a new name right here in this same place. Sing me to sleep. Want a song that sounds like rain and sounds warm. I wanna be a lyrebird as well, but the city's name it only ruins songs. I tried to pick it up, but I didn't trick a thing. I just wanna be a queer lyrebird, been shown off to end, showing off as well. I'll show you my nest, ask all your favorite things. You smile from my Windsor when we start to get clucky. And all of these cloacas make things so simple, my dear. So sing me a new name right here in this same place. Sing me a sleep, lyrebird. Pick it up, but I didn't trick a thing. I tried to pick it up, but I didn't trick a thing. I tried to pick it up, but I didn't trick a thing.
Good afternoon, this is the Phatcast. I'm your host, Colin Reynolds, and today's special guest is Leni Peirano? Peirano.
Yeah, otherwise known as Pepperoni, Piranha, or Mrs. Soprano.
I like all those names.
You can just call me Leni, obviously. Yeah,
excellent. Right, so that was a lovely song you just played.
Thank you.
What's the title of that song?
That song is called Lyrebird. It's the reason that I particularly like this song is because it's one of the few songs I have that's just about a kind of like an abstract dream space, as opposed to me processing something that's happened or telling an anecdote or like being heartbroken or like all these things that I typically would feel emotional enough to play a song for.
Yes.
And this song is more just a moment in time while I was living in Townsville, and it was a really rainy season. It had been raining for weeks on end. Yep. Everything is sodden and growing mold and hot. And I just didn't want to be there, but I couldn't think anywhere else I wanted to be either. But I needed to say something but had nothing to say. So I asked a friend, can you give me like one word and I'll make a song about that? And the word was lyrebird. And I thought it was very fitting because a lyrebird is like a master of imitation.
Sure. So
then the idea was like, if I could be a lyrebird, I could mimic or imitate myself out of my material reality. And it was kind of quite therapeutic.
Like conceptual, kind of like taking a conceptual idea through like a fantasy space.
Yeah. And not in any particularly structured way that I even thought about that much, but and it's a song that I wrote semi-recently just before I left Townsville.
Sure.
So
how long have you been playing on the road?
Oh, well, honestly, like on and off since I was about 18.
Sure.
I'm 32 now, so
Yeah.
that's 14 years.
Yeah.
I say on and off because I've had periods of time where I've really just wanted more stability and a stable income, and I've been really burnt out from being on the road and just burnt out by the lifestyle that comes with gigging a lot. I don't have great impulse control, so it generally went together with like, oh yes, sure, I'll accept all of these free drinks you're giving me and any other easy, like, cash options.
Sure.
So anyway, that's me just admitting to something there that,
Oh,
I've
by.
recognized.
You do what you do to get by.
Yeah, totally. But I guess, just recognizing my weakness there and that I have like quite genuinely burnt myself out from gigging a lot. And I've also spent a lot of my life working as like a teacher aide or teaching English or bits and pieces. So I got a teaching degree, so I had the option of something that could just be stable. So
Not only is that a great option to have, obviously, teaching degree. Yeah, quite versatile, especially in Australia. You can work anywhere. But I would say that's kind of rare for an on-the-road musician to have.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. Oh, sorry.
You're right.
I think some part of me feels like maybe my commitment to the art is lacking. That like I'm not as willing to try to do all of the hustling to be a fully working musician 100% of the time.
Sure.
But I also, like you said a bit earlier, have like a really broad range of interests.
Yeah.
And I've also had periods of time where I haven't even really felt like playing. Just like some emotional block in me. I'm not going to force myself to write a song if I don't actually have something that's compelling me to do that strongly. And like I said before, also like just heaps of gigging in places like Townsville or Brisbane or wherever I've been. That's paid gigs where you're playing background music while people are playing keno, or watching the State of Origin on a screen behind you, literally.
A little bit soul destroying. Like, that's very obviously, I'm doing this for the cash, not for the love of watching people watch sports.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I actually find that that's almost like a violence to me. Like, I feel it as something violent to be playing and trying to like really pour my heart out in a space where it's just not relevant or interesting to anyone else.
Yeah.
And not because I take myself that seriously that I want everyone to like engage with every word that I sing. I really don't take myself that seriously at all. But
you don't have, it doesn't have to be about that. It's more like when you are up on stage, you're putting yourself right out there. No matter what you're playing, even if you're playing covers, there's still something of yourself in it.
Yeah.
Or else you would never get a gig if you would just be flat boring to listen to if you weren't putting yourself into it.
Oh, absolutely.
So just the fact that you're working, it means that, you are putting yourself out there. And it's not an unreasonable expectation that, now you don't need every person in the audience to be 100% engaged.
Yeah.
But you want a couple of people to be kind of paying attention.
Yeah. You want people to at least be like enjoying what they're hearing. And not focusing on a State of Origin match on a screen behind you.
For sure. Even if they're not totally focused on you, just like tapping their foot,
Yeah, occasionally like, exchanging a glance or a smile. And that can make your night.
You just played a particular song. It just happens to be a song that person loves. And they're like, they're playing my song.
Yeah, totally. So as I've gotten older, I have definitely just taken a more pragmatic approach to how I use my energy generally.
Yep.
Which is like I work kind of the minimum to live well.
Yep.
And spend a lot of my time reading books, going for bush walks. Like I feel ridiculous.
No, pretty.
I'm 32, going on like retirement age. And having lots of time for fiddling around on my guitar in ways that aren't even for like preparing for a performance, but just because it feels really good to me.
For sure.
And I definitely plan to like go on tour as a musician again, but like in very specific circumstances.
Yep. Just like mini tours. You're like, look, I'll set up 4 gigs in another state. I'll go visit a friend. We'll hang out. I'll play the gigs, come back home. And it's just that extra little bit of cash to help pay for the trip. And, you never know. You might be able to develop some new contacts.
Yeah.
You know, it might be a place that you end up wanting to return, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful. Like, I just sort of don't have huge amounts of ambition or expectation, and just genuinely really enjoy performing and enjoy the relationships that you make when you're doing it and the new places you get to see. Like, I just flew down to Hobart from Brisbane a few days ago and played a gig at a local bar here and met a bunch of people and got to engage with the audience as like an almost anonymous person from the outside. And it's like that for me, that's really fulfilling. I'm really happy doing that kind of thing. And then knowing that if I have an emotional lull in terms of my relationship with music, I'm not going to starve. I do relief teaching, so it's like pretty flexible. I don't have to work all the time.
It was interesting. Yeah. You mentioned, you know, sometimes you just don't have the right mood, frame of mind to be able to enjoy playing at that moment, etc.
Yeah.
There was a house I lived in. I could not play guitar in that house. I just could not. It's very complex trying to get into why, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't.
I have literally just come from this experience, and when I return to Brisbane this Monday, I'm moving out of my current house into a flat on my own.
Brilliant.
For the first time in my life, just because I've gone through way too many share houses where I've had that feeling, and it's really hard to pinpoint and describe and break down, like, what is it about this space that's not right? I don't know.
The thing is, like, it's one thing to be practicing written songs. That's one kind of thing.
Yeah.
To be in the process of writing songs is totally another kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at least to me, when I'm in the process of writing a song, firstly, I'd be certain that would be terrible to listen to, for starters.
Absolutely.
And secondly, I feel like I'm naked.
Yeah.
You know, like, I may as well just be walking around the house naked. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
So you just don't do it, and you feel really inhibited, and it doesn't flow.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, I don't feel like I can write music that's like fully authentic and that I really like can be proud of. And it's like, yeah, this is a song that's like an honest representation of something that I've lived. If I'm so inhibited by other people listening to it, it doesn't even work for me. And I've just spent like the last 6 months living in a share house with like a very thin bedroom wall.
Yeah.
I can hear my housemates like almost like turning over in their sleep.
Wow.
And I've wondered if they can probably hear me breathing. Like, I don't masturbate in that bedroom, you know what I mean? It's very dangerous. So that's just I joke. I never masturbate. I'm actually an angel, of course.
Yeah. Just a bit too real, like how much of each other you hear through the wall.
Oh, so much that like I've been so inhibited. I've been playing gigs while I've lived there, just locally in Brisbane.
Yeah.
But I just find myself practicing songs that I've already written or covers, but I'm not writing songs because, like you said, like there's so much repetition and rustiness and like weird repetition of like.
So you'll be playing the same line 50 times with a minor variation each time.
Very minor, yeah.
Yeah, just to try and
because you're feeling through it,
and it's perfectly riveting to the person who's writing.
It's new,
but to anybody else, it would just sound terrible. And as the person that's writing, you can't enjoy what you're doing, knowing that you would just sit there.
Totally. And
this house I was talking about, one time, like, I just had to play the guitar, but I was so uncomfortable. I literally sat there and played covers for an hour, just because I had to play.
Yeah,
but I was just
it's like you're abandoning a part of yourself. I feel like a neglectful parent or friend if I don't play guitar. Like, I'm not looking after myself, like with my relationship to myself. So I do the same thing, like kind of like forcing things, like forcing that feeling of joy or euphoria that playing can give me, and I just sort of try to maintain it. Or like the moment that there's none of the housemates are home, then I'll like bust it out. But yeah, I'm like quite excited about experiencing loneliness in a way that I never have before, because I've always lived with lots of people.
Sure.
And I'm quite consciously trying to do things that step out of my comfort zone now that I've kind of reached an age where I've managed to make my life like almost too comfortable, which sounds lovely. It's a strange thing to complain about, but I need novelty and challenge and shaking it up. Otherwise, I'm not creative. I don't.
From a somewhat different background, but I did the same thing to myself too, where I started earning some okay kind of reasonable regular money, and then like COVID kind of happened. And in the space of like 18 months, I put on like 55 kilos. So like that totally transformed my life, and not in all good ways.
Yeah.
I've probably lost maybe 10 of that now. But
well done.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
But, wow, like, you know, of all the things to gain during that period, weight wasn't one of them I wanted.
I don't think you're alone, hey.
Oh, probably not.
Yeah,
not.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, for the last decade, I've been working, in production as a roadie and doing, like, audio as well. But a lot of that was loading trucks, driving forklifts, pushing boxes
Pretty
around.
physical
Pretty
stuff.
physical stuff, whether you're hanging lights or setting up speakers. And very physical and had an appetite to match. When the work goes away, the appetite doesn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll just keep eating without the work that was using that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I said, it only took 18 months and I just totally changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change is exciting and it's good as well. I don't know. Yeah, like my position on this is that like there's no one like way of living that's like, oh, this is the way for
absolutely.
a wholesome life.
It's always a juggling act.
Yeah, like a balancing out of these different things. Like I think that in Australian society there is a pretty big obsession with fitness and wellness.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I'm actually quite critical of that because I think it's really individualistic.
Oh,
and,
definitely. But I can tell you, I'm a visibly fat person, which is fine. And there's nothing wrong with the word fat. It's what how society looks at that word that makes it feel terrible. But so just essentially just being like that. You feel judged everywhere you go. You can't buy clothes anywhere. Nothing's in your size. And
and there's this idea that you could just live differently and change it, and that's
right.
the destructive part.
And like online, particularly like where a few years ago, there's a model, Tess Munster, I think her name is. Mm-hmm. She might have another name, but that's like her like a stage name kind of thing. And she's a plus size model. Anyway, she made it to the front of Cosmopolitan, and there was a massive backlash.
Scandal.
That's right. People was like, how dare you? It's like you're validating someone for being so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And this is mean-spirited.
It's really mean-spirited. And also, like, I think it's a false conflation of ideas to say that being fat is unhealthy. Like,
absolutely.
How narrowly are we defining health? To do that.
And even more narrowly, we define beauty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, totally. Which is like just excludes so many people.
It does.
And makes a lot of people feel inadequate so that they have to do something. And I think that it's actually just like not because like I don't believe in a conspiracy that there was an actually like orchestrated attempt to make people consume more. But if a lot of people are getting around feeling inadequate, of course they're going to consume more. Like it's sort of convenient to the capitalist project or whoever benefits from that people feel like they need to change something about themselves.
Oh, totally.
Even if it is, I mean, maybe it's silly for me to be critical of it if it's like looking after yourself. But I know a lot of people who are well into the wellness culture, lifestyle thing, and they're really struggling emotionally despite an outward appearance of health.
And then there's the other side of it where there might be someone who is they're like total gym junkie and they work out all the time and they're really lean and buff, but they're also a terrible fucking alcoholic.
Yeah.
They beat up their girlfriend all these other things that's literally terrible about that person. But no, I'm the bad guy because I'm fat.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's total bullcrap. Hey, I actually think that probably most women especially, but like maybe men don't talk about it as much, but most of my female friends say that they have had an eating disorder at some point in their lives. It's really rare to hear someone say that they haven't.
Yes.
Which says a lot. Like that is a lot of self-torture.
Oh, definitely.
For a very narrow ideal.
A few years ago, I saw this like a short lecture, TED educational lectures.
Yeah.
By literally a runway model, and she talked about her own insecurity, and how about like she would look at herself in a magazine, and that's not even her because of the digital retouching, and all of these things. And she was saying, you know, she really feels for people who feel inadequate because of these images, especially because like she actually feels inadequate constantly.
Yeah, and she's like at the pinnacle of like perfection.
Right.
Yeah, what is that like?
So what does that say about the rest of us, you know, like?
Yeah, well, maybe what it really says is just that humans are perpetually dissatisfied as creatures, which is actually something that I think it's good to acknowledge and accept, that as a species we're not like totally just set up for being satisfied and content all the time. And that's like a false expectation that's sold to us, that you could be really satisfied and content if you did these things. It's not even in our nature. We have like a problem-solving nature.
Yes.
For most of human history, basic survival has required a lot of problem solving and daily challenge. So like that's like the default mindset we have, is like, what's wrong? How do I fix it? And then to assume that you're going to get to this place when then everything's perfect, that's just even more dissatisfying than acknowledging I'm probably not going to be satisfied, and that's okay. Like, well, I can be chill about that.
If you get to grips with the idea that the idea of total contentment is disillusionment in the first place, then you can have a lot easier time of living whatever life you've actually got.
Yeah, totally. Like lower the bar a little bit, and be like, it's okay to just be like, what do I enjoy doing? I'm going to try to spend my time doing that.
For example, like financially, right? Our generation compared to, say, the previous generations before us, we're never going to have the same, like as a homogenous entity, we're never going to have the same buying power in terms of property and that sort of thing. We're just not going to have
it's
that.
It's just that's
you know, there are some people our age who maybe they are doing all right, but on the whole, our generation is not.
No.
Thanks to the generation before us or
whatever. That's
without trying to sort of lay blame at anybody's feet, you know, the world is a changing place. The economy is a changing thing. People are, you know, culturally changing constantly. And even though, so here's our conundrum. Okay, I can't own my own property like my grandparents did or whatever.
Yeah.
So what will I do? I'll enjoy. I can't have a full-time job. So what will I do? I'll spend the time that I do have enjoying things that I do enjoy.
Yeah, and I think that's a blessing. Like a lot of people around my age are really anxious about acquiring property, and a lot of my friends have recently bought property.
And good for them for managing to do it in these conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that for me personally, it's a blessing that I haven't even bought into the expectation and the idea that I should do that, because the way that I see my time.
I've straight up done the maths and it's not happening for me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. For me neither. Like, like if it was happening for me, it would be buying something I actually don't even really want, somewhere I don't even really want to live.
Yeah.
With a huge debt that will turn me into a wage slave for the rest of my working life. I'm like, why is that appealing? That's not appealing.
Which is surely what is preferential is spending that time creating art, and the art actually may survive more than any other kind of legacy you leave.
Absolutely, or like in a similar way to creating art, like art as a way of cultivating beauty.
Yeah.
And forming connection with each other and with the beauty in the world itself, is just like I see cultivating one's mind or an artistic not even sort of saying this for people that aren't artists as well, but like just the space that you have in your mind, that is where your whole reality exists anyway. So if you commit your life to cultivating some kind of beauty
the
in your mind,
whatever it is that
curiosity.
you value, whatever it is that you value.
Well, in whatever that is, that's where it's going to exist anyway.
Someone might find their bliss in meditation. And if that's the case, what a crime it would be if they weren't able to spend most of their time doing that. Right? So let them live a life where that's what they get to do all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, interestingly, all of this, like, we can safely say all of this. We also live in a country with a lot of wealth and abundance where we can afford to not slave away full time.
Our poorest are mega wealthy compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of material wealth, yes, but I think in terms of spiritual, emotional, or social poverty, I think it's
hard to quantify.
Hard to quantify, and I think that in that way, like, Australia has pretty bad poverty as well. Yeah, which is often out of sight and out of mind because of, like, the glossy veneer.
Sure.
But yeah, like I'm not going to get hung up thinking like, oh, I'm so privileged compared to people in this particular third world country. I should work, and it's like some sort of weird Protestant work ethic hangover that you need to be constantly making God's gifts into something productive and meaningful. Like, we live in a secular world now.
To what end? To make the bloody corporate oligarchs just a bit richer than they already are? Yeah,
exactly.
Who does that benefit, you know?
Yeah.
We have the technology and the resources to feed everyone abundantly. And, you know... on an individual level, what impacts can you have? You can have impacts with the way you interact with the people around you. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it. Grassroots stuff.
Unless you've reckoned yourself an Elon Musk who inherits a diamond mine and then buys a bunch of companies and then tries to
self-made entrepreneur. Sure.
And then tries to... I mean, like, maybe he'll do something great for humanity with his money. Maybe he won't.
Yeah.
But the point is, unless you're that dude, don't worry about those things.
Yeah.
Worry about the things that you do affect.
I really agree with that. You can really spiral into something pretty dangerous in your head if you think about, like, all of the world's misery and all of its problems and, like, what am I going to do? I'm like, no, like, if I try to look after my immediate relationships, including my relationship with myself, which is part of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like all that's really real in this world.
You need to have a certain amount of self-appreciation and gratitude, not only just to cope, but to help the people around you by not unloading all of your burden onto them.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is easy to do. Bit of
very easy.
Melodrama is quite entertaining.
If you got the right circle of friends that can kind of recognize each other's bullshit for what it is, and you let someone have their bullshit for a little while, and if they eventually become a broken clock, you're like, you kind of been on this bullshit for a little while now.
Yeah.
And they'll go, oh my God, I have. You know, and then the moment's passed. If, you know, once again, if you've got that right group of friends, you should be able to call each other out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess some people don't have any friends. That's what I was just thinking.
And for those people
there could be someone listening to this podcast going like, I don't have any friends.
I wish I had friends like that.
Yeah, I wish I had friends like these two people have so that I could have a support network.
For sure. And I mean, there's no answer for everybody. Or at least that's not something that I have.
Yeah, no, of course.
And my knowledge only extends very thinly outside of the bubble of my own existence, you know?
Yeah.
So I can really only think about how I've...
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think I've so many times gotten into the trap of trying to have an opinion that could be generalizable enough that it could apply to lots of people, because then it feels like more like there's something more stable and grandiose about something that's like, wow, this is really how things are. And I guess we all do that when we try to have opinions, right? But especially about how to live your life.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, what could I say? Live your life with like lowered expectations and don't, you know, like our imagination can be our own best friend and our own worst friend if your imagination is like putting too much pressure on you. That's probably for me the main generalization I'll make. Just don't pressure yourself too much.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Just take it easy on yourself.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just like encouraging everybody to be lazier.
Right. Just less
like,
judgy of yourself.
Less judgy. Don't even say lazy. Say I'm being restful. I need rest. And then when you're rested, you do things you enjoy.
Which is not to say don't look at yourself with, don't criticize yourself at all.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're all a work in progress.
Yeah.
And we
ideally.
Yeah.
Not Elon Musk. He's perfect.
Right. Jokes. Yes. Did you see what he named his kid?
It was like a number with some weird symbols in it.
Yeah. Basically.
Do you remember what it was?
Oh God! It had a special pronunciation.
Yeah.
Like X Ash Archangel or something like that.
God. Something so exceptional and special that no one really understands it.
He'll go to school and the kid will be Archie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Archie, like the daggest name ever.
If he even goes to school.
Oh no, that's right. No, we're playing around with dollar bills or something.
Yeah.
That's
inject a chip in his brain that gives him knowledge.
Yeah, Matrix style. Plug in. That's probably all the time we've got today.
That's understandable. I've possibly talked too much already.
No, not at all. It's been lovely to have you here. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. You've helped to make me feel really welcome in this beautiful city.
Brilliant.
Bye, Hobart.
And we'll be back next week. Thank you.